I think the whole Phil Mickelson thing is going to be fascinating to see what happens with him moving forward.
When does he resurface?
Because we know, we've seen a bunch of people get canceled for different reasons, right? I don't know that happens to Phil Mickelson in the long run. Maybe he just disappears for three months, 6 months, and comes back, and then we forget about it. And this is just a small footnote at the end of his career in a year or two, and we're not thinking about it. Or is this a stain on him forever? I don't know. Usually you can tell.
But it doesn't make him disappear.
Well, we've been talking about the Will Smith slap. That's going to be the first thing people think of with Will Smith. A lot of people for the rest of his life, and that's unfortunate for him. That's going to be the number one thing. He's now losing movie gigs, with the fallout of this, which I think is ridiculous, by the way. But he's now losing the opportunity to do some movies. So how long does that last? How far will that go? I think what happens with Phil Mickelson and how he's covered and treated by the media and the golf world, really the golf world specifically, it's going to be fascinating to follow.
I think in the entertainment world, and it's an individual sport, I think maybe it'd be even more so than in a team sport. I mean, you look at Tyreek Hill. I mean, everybody knows in the back of their head, this is a bad guy who did some bad stuff. Now let me see him score a touchdown.
Yep.
Let me get him on my fantasy
team. Can he play?
And I think it'll be the same for Phil Mickelson. It's unfortunate, almost, but it is the opposite of the canceling society thing, where we see it happen to other people. In athletics, if you can play and entertain us, and in entertainment in a way too, a musician, if you're good enough to fill the concert venue, we're pretty much going to forgive you unless you've been a child molester.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, yeah.
The entertainment, Steve Van Zandt says this all the time, the entertainment overwhelms the entertainer.
But the individual sport is a little different because of sponsorships.
It's very different from that respect.
But still, if he's at a tournament, he's going to have a big gallery, no matter what, because of what he's done and what he might do. And we do it time and time again. What professional athlete hasn't had a second act after he's done something that we found reprehensible? It's hard to find those guys.
But this is so different in that it's not that reprehensible what he's done, but it's so different. I mean, he spoke out against the money driver for him and where he's made millions over his career and profited big time.
And he'll come back and make money.
He spoke out against it, and he sided with a shaky regime in Saudi Arabia and just went out of his way to praise them and denigrate the PGA.
But on the list of sins,
that's different. Oh, on the list of sins,
where's that rank
nothing
against punching a pregnant woman in the stomach?
Oh, absolutely. But I'm saying,
and that guy's thriving.
He would have been.
Yes.
This again. I'm not weighing the morality of it or the legality of it. It's almost like he'd have been better off being accused of rape, than saying something like that. And he could have come back
with
almost
the
quicker from that.
deny.
Yeah, not from a legal standpoint again, but in the eyes of the public and the ability to go out and play and entertain, to what you're saying, Paul, I think he's better off with something like that happening or getting out than going against publicly.
Well, I think he's fine either way.
Against the PGA and siding with Saudi Arabia.
After time passes, I think he's fine either way.
In thinking about it, though, he missed out on an opportunity, hindsight, with Tiger's return. Phil would have still would have been the second
biggest guy
headline. And he wouldn't have been under the radar, but he could have returned or just as a Masters champion played, and it's not nearly as massive of a story of him playing because Tiger's playing.
Yeah, right. He would have been eased his path back in. Van Pelt said he was joking with guys, prominent guys. You guys could play naked Thursday, and no one would notice because of the monumental story of Tiger being back. And to your point, Mickelson could have come back, played naked, and come back from this thing, and he would have had the smoothest path back ever.
Imagine being like Louis Oosthuizen, who's playing with Tiger tomorrow morning, and the gallery around. He's used to it, but this is a different animal tomorrow.
You know that you hate it if you're Oosthuizen, and I forget the other golfer that's paired with Tiger.
It's Neiman, or I think so.
Yeah. But if you're one of those guys, you know that you probably hate that. When you get the assignment.
I think it would be fun to be there tomorrow and go pick somebody else. Because you'll get as close as you could
on
get
the course at the same
tomorrow.
time. DeChambeau tees off 10 minutes before Tiger. Cameron Smith, Matsuyama, Justin Thomas, Dustin Johnson, Zalatoris, Jordan Spieth tees
You get
off.
a pretty good look at those guys, I think.
9 holes later. I mean, if you think about who's on the course and all eyes on Tiger, you're right. You could go anywhere you want across that course and watch some great golf.
That's the other thing. I obviously watched PTI last night. So I took a lot from what they were saying. And I thought Kornheiser made a good point here about this, can he win thing. Think of how many guys at the top of their game are on the course tomorrow.
Yeah.
At the peak. This is their best chance to win the Masters ever. When you think about it that way, pitting it against Tiger, who I before that wasn't thinking had a chance to win. But, and there's usually a guy every year who you're not even thinking about at the beginning of the tournament who's high on the leaderboard Saturday evening, Sunday morning.
But I didn't think we would see him win another green jacket, and we did.
I agree.
In 2019.
No, whatever happens, it's going to be fascinating. And particularly, I think we're all rooting for the same thing in America is that he be playing.
And playing well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting no matter what happens when he's on the course, good or bad. But I'm hoping for the good surprise where it's interesting because he's doing something.